Over a week ago, there was a debate that went to 2 a.m. in the morning in the lower house of the South Australian Parliament. It surrounded the very complex but also contentious issue of abortion law reform. It enabled, through the voting of the lower house of parliamentarians, for abortion up to birth to occur in South Australia. Now, up until now, it had been abortion up to 22 weeks and 6 days. And that was legislation that had been passed back in 1969, over 50 years ago, when the then Attorney General was Robin Millhouse. He later commented about the fact of those laws being largely used as contraception and a range of other ways in which he had never intended as the lawmaker of that time, and probably felt that they maybe went too far. Now new laws have been raised in South Australia which would take the abortion up to birth situation so significantly further than where Mr Millhouse's original bill had gone, and the supporters of it included the South Australian Attorney General Vicki Chapman. And it was interesting too because there were a number of members of Parliament that opposed the bill. David Spears from the Liberal Party was one of those, and Stephen Knoll, who is the member for Schubert in the Barossa region, also was opposing the bill, although in the end the vote that got the bill up, and Mr Spears put an amendment bill up that effectively the vote ended up being 26 to 22, I think, from memory, and that in effect was the one that I guess had the component of restricting abortion to any further time other than the 22 weeks and 6 days, which now has been struck down, and the abortion up to birth is in place. What was actually won by those who are against the bill was an amendment for the sex selection component, which was actually passed by the upper house politicians back before Christmas. It was struck down, which means that you can no longer use sex selection as a reason for abortion in the context of that. I mean, that's sort of getting to that really grey area that where in other countries around the world has seen dramatic imbalances to female and males at certain age profiles, and it certainly in many cultures has seen a number of girls actually lost in terms of this particular situation. So that was struck down. I think that's probably the component of that would be very much supported by, I think most people were really, really quite concerned about that, the fact the upper house had actually passed that in South Australia. But ultimately, the movement of laws which sought to decriminalise, I don't think there was a massive amount of people that saw that as an issue. It was more the change of from 22 weeks and 6 days up to 40 weeks being a key component of the proponents for the bill, and those that were against it certainly outnumbered in terms of public protests, about 15 to 1 in terms of the protests that led up to the lower house voting on this. But it seems that the members of Parliament that voted didn't have the same views as the public in terms of those that protested on this particular topic.